Thank you all for coming. This is crazy. The line was like huge. You guys are awesome. So, taking a little break from the nonverbal stuff, but I know, oh man, it's already starting, I know it. What are you doing? Hey, what are you all doing? This is so disturbing. Why are there, what is happening in this room? What is happening in this room? Wait, why are there so many? How much money did you spend on this? Those things are not cheap. How many are there? This is so disturbing. You know how they say you should picture your audience naked when you're nervous? Don't do that with this going on. This is not a good scene. I gotta be serious. Okay. Yeah, good. Keep going, Dave. I love you, man. We're talking about mind reading for fun and profit, but I want to start off with an exercise as a room, okay? I need to do a test. This will tie in to the rest of the speech, so I need you all to play along with me, okay? So, first of all, this test has been psychologically proven that there's only, and I believe in this community, we have a higher level of intelligence here, so I think we'll try and see if it works for you, but only really intelligent people usually can do this. So while trying to touch your tongue to your nose, think of any number from 5 to 12. Go ahead. Remember, how many of you guessed the number 7? Raise your hand. Okay, that actually doesn't matter because I just wanted to see you all do something really stupid that has absolutely no psychological relevance at all. But you all tried it. Now, why is this so important? Well, because if you can make people do things as a group really, really silly, and you can now bring that down to a singular personal level, well, you got some power as a social engineer. So today we're going to talk about is just that, is just how to do that. And why does it work? Why does something like this work? Well, we're all predictable as humans. Right? We have certain set of rules, we apply those rules, and we do it the same, and we haven't changed for thousands of years. You know what's changed? Is the technology, the things that motivate us. That's what's changed. But humans haven't changed. We have the same motivators and the same principles of influence and manipulation, rapport building work, but just the way it's applied is a lot different. So, if that's true, then what tools do we have to predict behavior from people? I think there's 3. First, we have OSINT, right? Not the nature of this talk, but you can, or any type of open source intelligence, whether it's observation or online, to tell you a lot about how people will behave. Right? If you just drive by, I think it was so many years ago that Johnny Long did an amazing talk at DerbyCon. Remember where he took tweets on people? You might have seen this online. He took pictures of people's bumper stickers, and then he had the room guess what kind of person they were, and then he stalked them until they came out of the mall and took pictures of them. And most of the time, people were pretty accurate the way they looked. So this OSINT is a very important part of predictability. No, I can't, I have to talk. It's hot. It's hot. Oh. It's actually burning. It's burning my mouth. Oh, that is so gross. Feeling off ice hot coming out your nose. Okay. Whew. Sorry about that. Observation, second set of OSINT, right? Just being observant of your surroundings and the people around you, the way they dress, the way they talk, these kinds of things could be very important. But what we're going to talk about today is communication profiling. Now, I want to talk a little bit for a second about how we need to balance this. Communication profiling is not psychological profiling. Now, there are some relationships, right? If you know how someone communicates, there are some relationships to psychology, but it is not a personality or psych profile. And it's important to understand that differentiation, because sometimes we get these skills, and it feels really powerful. You feel like a Jedi. And you start communicating with someone, all of a sudden you know how they're feeling, you know what they're thinking, a lot of nonverbals there, and then you feel like, I can read everything this person is thinking. So I want to be really clear that communication profiling is just learning how somebody likes to be communicated with. And I think the first step is knowing how you communicate, to see what alterations would need to be made in your communication style to influence that person. Right? So here's how communication profiling works. Can you actually see that graphic? Is that too small on the screen? A little bit? Yeah. That's really terrible. Okay, I'm sorry. I guess that was poor planning. But, so you first need to know your dominant communication style. Then you need to realize what adjustments have to be made in that communication style. When you learn your target communication style, I know it sounds very negative, but we're here talking about social engineering, so we will use the term target. Then you put your request into your conversation at that time. And this can be done through email, through phone, in person, IM. Okay, so these principles apply no matter what form of communication that you are taking or dealing with your target. Whether it's phishing, vishing, in-person attack, over IM, that's the way it works. When you do this, you have an amazing ability to build rapport. I mean, think about it. What is the golden rule, right? Everyone knows the golden rule. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. How does it feel when people treat you respectfully and nicely? It feels good, right? And what happens inside? Well, your brain reacts in a way you can't control. It releases chemicals like oxytocin, like what they call the moral molecule of builds trust. It releases serotonin, right? It releases dopamine. So you have these chemicals that get released in your brain that make you feel happy, they make you feel relaxed, they make you feel trusting, and it is in relation to the person that is communicating with you. That is called rapport. And when you have rapport, you're going to get somebody to do anything. So learning how to communicate with people properly, I would say not giving them smart advice when they're on the stage would be a great way to learn how to communicate. Okay. Another big fat caution. This is only one of the tools for a social engineer. A lot of times, I know, and I'm guilty of this myself, when I first fell in love with nonverbals and things like that, you start touting it and talking about it like it's the only tool. This is only one. If you blend this with a bunch of other tools, you have a powerful arsenal as a social engineer. Okay, and we'll be happy to talk about that at the end of the Q&A. So what is it that I'm talking about? Well, we're talking about GIF communication profiling. Does anyone here ever heard of GIF before? Good, quite a few people. Okay. So we're going to go through the history of it, what it is, and how you can use it, and talk about how easy it is to use, and we're actually going to do it as a group here together. Okay, so here's some history on GIF. Who was the creator of it? Well, who's this guy? His name is William Marston. Here's some history on him. He's a very, very educated guy, lots of degrees from Harvard. What I found very fascinating about his history is law school, psychology degree, teacher, and he was also a business lawyer for a while. He's had a lot going on in his life. Very, very educated, very into research. In 1970, while doing some research, he noticed there was changes in blood pressure when people were trying to be deceptive. And that led him to create something very interesting, the polygraph machine. So William Marston created the polygraph machine, which now we are using in the SE Village downstairs, by the way. Shameless plug. Sorry. Okay. From 1924 to 1931, he wrote a series of books, but the one that's published there, Integrative Psychology, is the one where he released the research into communication profiling and to understand how people communicate. And this is where we base our research, when I say our, the community of psychologists research on this profiling is all based on his work. But there's something else that Dr. Marston is known for. Does anyone here know? Anyone here know? Just curious, because if someone knew, I did not know this. I found this out just recently. You come to my village later, you get something for free. He is He is the creator of Wonder Woman. He was a big women's rights advocate back in the early 20s and 30s, and he felt that superheroes did not have good representation for women. He created a hero that had all the strength of Superman, but all the beauty of a woman. Oh, God. Come on, not enough. I can't. I'm trying to talk. God, stop. Thank you, Gary. I like you. Yeah. He's doing a good job, because I actually feel very love for him right now, because he's the only one of them that's supporting me and not drinking it. The rest of you wanted me to do it. Okay, so I just found that had nothing to do with communication profiling, but I found that fascinating. This guy, like 3 or 4 different degrees, studied psychology. His book that we talked about in 1931 was actually audited by Dr. Freud, and Dr. Freud used some of his work in some of his psychology books. So he's a very heavily respected and referenced psychologist in the field, and he's the creator of Wonder Woman. So I thought that was a pretty cool side fact. So what does this stand for? There's the dominant, the D, influencer, I, steady for S, and conscientious for C. Now, those things alone may mean nothing, but here's where we really get into the meat of how we use it. Forget about the 4 colored quadrants for a second and just focus on the main words, direct and indirect, tasks, and people. So just profiling alone, you profile someone by just finding out how they communicate in those 4 areas. Are they a more direct person, or are they an indirect person? Are they more task-focused, or are they focused on the people? And even if you can only get 50% of the quadrant, you're still 50% there going to communicate with that person in a better way than you would without knowing any of it. Now, each one of these have sub-pieces that you can fill in once you know the person you're communicating with them a little bit. Like a dominant person tends to be very direct, very result-orientated, very firm, very strong-willed. Sometimes they're more aggressive. They're the kind of person that you think they kick the door down and get stuff done. That's the D-type personality. And I, someone who's very outgoing, they're very enthusiastic and optimistic. Generally an I, like if you come into a room with a group of people, the I is in the center and all these people are around him and they're laughing and joking and he's telling stories. The kind of I. Very, very easy to just be in conversation with people, right? Very outgoing there. The S is an even-tempered, accommodating person. They're patient, they're humble. And S is somebody who really cares about other people, right? And they're very supportive. That's a really good word to think of them. They're supportive. And S is the kind of person who would throw themselves on their sword for the team. That's really the kind of person they are. And then a C is very analytical, very private, very reserved. Right? Sometimes C's are very detail-orientated. C-type people, generally, you see them a lot of sticky notes on their desk, color-coordinated with, folders for everything. They're very, very organized type of people. Now, there's an important point, which I brought up before, but here's the thing that this does not measure. Okay? It does not measure intelligence. So there is not, if you're a D and not an I, it doesn't mean you're dumber or smarter. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a higher level of intelligence depending on your communication profile. We as humans tend to think that our dominant style is the best. We tend to think that. So it's good to remind yourself that this does not equate 1-to-1 for intelligence. So it doesn't mean that someone else is worse just because they communicate differently. It's also not a versatility test. Okay, so it does not tell us how you will handle certain tasks, how good you will be at certain jobs. It doesn't mean that. It is true that a communication style sometimes will land us in jobs that are good for us. Like you'll tend to see a lot of I's gravitate towards sales. You'll see S's gravitate towards caregiving and this and things like that. But it doesn't mean that they're always going to be great at it, right? Exactly. Skills. So it doesn't mean that because, if you're a D that you're going to be the best CEO there ever is. Or if you're an S, you're going to be the best nurse on earth. It doesn't mean that. Skills are still a learned thing. So it's not testing for that. And finally, it doesn't test your value. So if at home at night you're torturing kittens in your basement, this is not going to tell us that, right? There's going to be absolutely no indicators that you like to hurt small furry animals or other humans. It's not a sociopath or a psychopath test. Okay, so really people sometimes confuse that and thinking that, this will prove that you have some imbalance. It will not. There are other ways to do that, but this is not one of them. So how do we use it? Let's see. Now, this is not another silly test. I really want you to follow along. Raise your hand if you think that I am more direct versus indirect. Okay? Raise your hand if you say I'm indirect versus direct. Okay? How many people say that I'm a people person versus tact? And how many people say I'm tact over people? Interesting. Okay, so where would that put me? Most of you did guess that I was direct. Most hands went up for that. Okay, and I would agree. That would definitely be me, more of a direct communicator. And I think the guys and gals who work for me would probably agree that I'm pretty direct. It doesn't get much more direct than me. And most of you, this was interesting, actually the larger majority gave that I am a people person. Now, what's interesting is when I take the test, I tend to be more of a D. But I found out through the last 8 years, okay, get it out now. Good God. Okay. But, over the last 8 years of doing this for a living, I realized that training and speaking to people as if I was a drill sergeant is a really bad way of being a social engineer. So I have trained myself to be more of an I communicator, which makes me happy that the majority of you guessed that, because that means I'm doing that properly, okay? So I would definitely be where I would fall, but I also am very task-focused, but you would definitely put me in the I category. So what does that mean? Well, I would be labeled as someone who's outgoing, enthusiastic, optimistic, lively, also while being very direct. Okay, so most of you did not raise your hand when I asked if you had familiarity with this, and yet as a room, you successfully profiled me in a matter of 60 seconds. So that's how powerful this is. Now let's see how we apply it as a social engineer. Okay, so how do we use it as a social engineer? So first, you want to be able to anticipate how somebody wants to be communicated with. And one of the flaws in this is we assume sometimes that you need to be talking or hearing someone in order to read their disc profile. But that's not always the case. You can do this even off of one visual, a picture that you find online. Or you can do this off of when you're just walking in the office and you see how someone's desk is set up. Okay? Scenario number 1. So your mission, you're the lead SE on this job, and you need to infiltrate the company through the gatekeeper. You're going to gain access to the building and drop some USB keys with malicious payloads on them. Okay? Or you're going to go and steal a server, or you're going to take some blueprints. You can put whatever scenario you want, but you have to get through the gatekeeper. When you get into the office, this is what you see. This is your scene. Help me profile her. Now, I'm not asking you to tell me her disc profile yet. Tell me what you see on the desk. Okay, you see that she's organized. That's very nice. What else? Okay, I see a lot of color-coded Post-it notes. Good. What else? I see a schedule on the wall. Good. What else? I'm sorry? Folders. Okay, she's smiling. How many people agree with that? Yeah, I would not call that a smile. There is absolutely no indicator of the orbitalis oculus iris nerve. I wouldn't know about that. Okay, so what do we see? This is some things I noticed. There's no pictures of family or kids. Right? Now that's usually odd in your opinion, wouldn't you agree, that not seeing pictures of family. especially on a gatekeepers or, and I know this is profiling, but this is part of social engineering. Many times, especially with women, you'll see pictures of their family on the desk, even if she doesn't have immediate family, maybe, extended family. Go away. Okay. Neat and organized. You guys picked that up. See lots of lists, color-coded files. I see no clutter. You guys picked that one up too. So excellent pickup. So where do you think that puts her? Anybody disagree? I would agree 100%. So think about this. For the majority of you not having any experience with communication profiling, and you were not able to speak to this woman, but you have the ability to profile her communication style just with a picture. And that took how long? 30 seconds? 45 seconds maybe? And to do it. So this is a very, very powerful tool. We'll go through another example, but it's a very, very powerful tool. And let's figure out why in a second, okay? How we're going to use it. Here's scenario number 2. Okay, so you need to start an elicitation conversation with the CEO of a company. And during that conversation, you need to get him to reveal some pretty intimate details about his job role, his company, and other things that you would need to know as a social engineer. This is what you see when you approach him. I'm not asking you for the profile, but tell me what you see. Okay, no tie. Okay, I hear 2 things I want to elaborate on. Who said the confident body language? Why do you say confident body language? Okay, perfect. I love it. And you were, I would say aggressive too. And you said power pose. What made you think power pose? Okay. Yep. And you agree with that? Yep. So this is called steepling in body language. This is a very, very high confidence body language move, right? When your thumbs are exposed, because we are creatures with opposable thumbs, this makes us superior to everyone else. So when we show our thumbs, it's high confidence. Examples of this in history: Napoleon always had his thumb showing. The Fonz always had his thumb showing. John Wayne always had his thumbs hanging, right? These are very high confidence poses. Thumbs mean that we're confident. Usually you see this with men a lot, although we are seeing more and more women doing steepling. We did not in previous history, but we are now. I think Hillary Clinton does this often when she's talking. Now, where this takes the difference, and why I thought all the 3 of you who commented were accurate 100%, is when people try to be confident, but then they do this, right? They point it down, or they hide their thumbs like this. This means I'm trying to tell you I'm confident, but I'm not really sure if I am, right? I'm not really sure. I'm gonna convince you, and maybe myself in the meantime, right? So we put our thumbs out, and then this is totally off topic, but I do like this part. What you'll see from people who steeple when they get into a debate with someone else is they start to shake their steeple, right? You see this, like I'm shaking my confidence at you, right? And I'm telling you I'm confident, not like that. Okay, so not like that. Okay, so his steeple is mid-abdomen level, so it's not pointing down. So, and you see, I thought, oh God, I thought the stage was moving. Sorry, David got me so paranoid. Okay, and you see the square shoulders. You mentioned that. That was really good. He's square on the camera. Tell me else. What else you see? Okay, you see a ring on his finger. Excellent. So you see that he's married. That's a good pickup. Anything else? Say it. Tailored suit. Who says it? Raise your hand. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so let me do one thing, because I like that this came up, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not going to embarrass you. I want to use it as a bad example, but this is a good point. What we don't know is that is he vain or not? We can't make that connection yet. What would help us make the connection? No, what would be the one thing to help us make the connection? Yeah, once we start a conversation, questions will help us make that connection. Some people can be very well dressed but not vain. Maybe just because of his job, he feels that he needs to be well dressed, but he's not arrogant or vain, right? So we don't want to connect emotional basis to what we see with body language until we have something to make that connection. Oftentimes, and this happens when we teach classes on body language and facial expressions, people tend to personalize what they see, right? So if I saw someone sitting on and they looked angry, it would be wrong for me to think, oh, well, he's ticked off at me. Or maybe his back is hurt and he just moved a little and it caused some pain and he got angry. Or maybe he got a text message from his boss saying, I need you to come to our work meeting this afternoon, and he's ticked, right? There could be a million reasons why he's angry right now and has nothing to do with me, so it would be a really bad idea for me to assume that what I see is about me. How do I make the connection again between what I see and what it's about? Conversation, okay? So, I do agree though with the dress. It looks very tailored for him. Yes. So this is a very interesting thing. When you're doing poses for pictures, and especially when you're in a powerful position, you will notice that Donald Trump's PR people tell him to do this all the time. Steepling and a head tilt. He's doing it very poorly. Because instead of a head tilt, it's more like a head turn, right? Some people really have a hard time with a head tilt. But steepling says I'm confident and powerful. Head tilt says I'm approachable. Okay, so he's trying to do that, but I agree with the comments that were over here that he looks very aggressive almost. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot deeper than I ever go. But that's okay. We'll do some shrooms and talk about that later. Okay. Okay. Someone got that. Did everyone hear that? You see his facial expression is smirk. So it's not a smile. It's not a frown. It's not lip pursing, which is, right? It's not like anger. And it's this weird half, I want to smile, but I think that may not make me look as powerful as I need to look right now in this picture kind of facial expression. It's not really an emotion that we see. It's almost like a contrived expression. Yeah, really good. Yes, young lady. Okay, so he's got a manicured look on his head, right? He's got a neat, sleek haircut, very short. Anything else? I'm sorry. He's Mike. He is wearing a lapel mic. I didn't pick that up. Nice. Wow, give that man a sticker. Is that a lapel mic or is that just like weird chest hair? I'm going to go with weird chest hair. It may be. I'm Italian. You never know. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think that indicate? What could indicate? Money? What else? Did you say it? Okay. Typical dress code for someone in, high profile, right? Okay. So you picked up a lot on this guy. Really, really good. Is there anything else before? No tie. Yes. No watch. Yeah. Yeah, his watch would be in his left hand. I do agree you can't fully tell, but I really don't see one. That is a good pickup, sir. Yes, he is wearing no pants. He is Dave Kennedy in disguise. He has, so there's a little bit of aggression, right, in his face. I agree with the statement. There's a little bit of aggression in his face. So, what do we see? High confidence displays. You guys pick that up. Steepling indicates power and confidence. Determined and yet even stern look, right? Where would you put him? D. I would agree with the D. I'm not going to go any further than that, okay? So, I would agree definitely that we can put him in a very dominant position. So, we have to take this a step further now, right? How does it work? In both scenarios, first you have to determine how you communicate, and that's pretty easy for us to do. right? Because you know if you're direct or indirect, you know if you're task or people, and you can put yourself into a category. And once you figure out where you are, then you need to figure out what you need to change in order to communicate with that person. So, for example, let's just say, for all of us, that you're an I. What changes would you need to make? You classified her as a C. You put yourself as an I for this experiment. So she's analytical, private, precise, and reserved. You're outgoing, enthusiastic, optimistic, and lively. How are you going to communicate with her so you can influence her? I'm sorry? Excellent first point. Toning yourself down some. How will I generally approach a situation? Big. Very big. Usually some humor, right? Some kind of exclamation, but very big, right? Big, big. And what's going to happen if you come in big and you're communicating with a C type personality? Yeah, I like that gesture. He went, right? She's gonna crawl into her shell and you're going to turn her off, right? So you're not going to be able to communicate. There's no rapport being built. Okay, so you need to tone it down. I like that. Next. Yes, sir. Okay, I like the thought, but here's a caution with this, okay? The comment was, get her alone. No. Let's just put it out there. No. Okay, let me tell you why no. Because a C is very private and reserved. Okay, so if you say, hey, can I talk to you over here? Like right away, what are they thinking? Any C's here? What are you thinking? Yeah, you're like, I don't know, maybe you got duct tape and a knife. I don't know I'm not going with you over here. Like, why do you want me to come? Right? So, right away, what would be the better alternative to that? I'm going to take all your other ideas. What would be the better alternative? That's the first what? Yes. Okay, good. And to do it how? Okay, I like that. So you can be a little apologetic, but there's a tone. What's a tone we want? Ask them if what? I'm not sure if I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So yes, okay. And this is the point. So your tone needs to come down, right? So as an I or a D with me, I tend to stand very, very big like this. So if you're going to approach this, I need to make myself a little smaller. It's not easy when you're this size, right? I need to do it, right? Because I got to lower my voice, got to lower my shoulders. Maybe it's even good to put my hands in my pocket, right? To bring it down so I am not aggressive with her, right? So that's great. Other points. How would we do it? Let's go here. Oh, wonderful. Okay, and this is a good one if you didn't hear it. Avoid constant direct eye contact, right? Because this is really weird. It's awkward, right? And I'm not even trying to SE you, and it's still like, yeah. It's weird, right? And it feels weird for both of us because of that. So yeah, that's a really good pickup. Nice one. So yes. Oh, wonderful. So this is another big eye movement, right? If this is the target, you kind of walk right up and then, but it's nice to stand off a little bit and wait for her to say, oh, can I help you? And now being invited into her personal space as opposed to broaching her personal space. Very nice. Thank you. I love that. Okay. And this is a good one. So I's are all about the people, right? C's are all about the task. So if you come in with a, can you help me kind of thing, it's about the people, and she's more concerned about task. So your ask needs to be about a particular task, right? So when you get to that point, after you built the rapport, when you make the ask, it needs to be about what needs to happen, what needs to occur, not about you. If it's about you, she may not care that much unless you were amazing and you built unbelievable rapport. Yes. Great. Okay. He said use specific. Very important, right? I's tend to be very vague. No details, right? To the life of the party. C's want, what did I do? 5 minutes? No, I have a full hour because Phil just went overtime. That's Dave and Carl. They told me I have a full hour. I've only been up here for 41 minutes. Okay, thank you. I love you. Well, I don't know, but it just shut me down like a bad puppy with a newspaper. I was like, I'm sorry. It was really important. Specifics, okay? They really need detail about what your ask is and what you want from it. Good. Yes. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. And the question was, how do we use this if we're on the phone and we don't have a chance to actually see the person? This is probably the hardest way to do it. So you have your 3 levels of OSINT. So first, you want to look into the company a little bit, see if you can find any pictures of employees, see how they look, see what kind of culture they have, right? Of course, if you know who you're targeting, which we normally do when we're fishing, we're looking for them, like Facebook, social media, see how they present themselves on social media. Social media will be a beautiful tool to help your communication profile, right? What I love about Twitter is someone has to make their message clear in 140 characters. So their communication style is going to come through. If it's all I, or if it's very direct and short, or if it's all about details, you see people who tweet like lists, like 1, 2, 3, their C's. You can really start to clearly see people's communication style. Let's say that's not an option. Let's say you're just doing general fishing and you can't see. This is where it gets super difficult because you're doing it on the fly. So that's probably true. But when you start the conversation, you may have to use a general pretext, and then as they converse, you're quickly trying to figure out just one of the quadrants. At that point, I would not try to put them into like both quadrants, right? I would just try to figure task people. That's all I would try to figure. They're tasker people. And if I can do that, I can put them in 50%, which is generally safe enough. Okay, but phone is probably the hardest to do if you're doing general fishing with no OSINT. Good question, though. Okay, yes. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? Yeah, because what we're saying is that in this scenario, you're an I, she's a C. We have to figure out what we need to change, right? Because if I come in as an I, I'm going to turn her off. There's no rapport. There's no rapport being built because what has happened is I've done this myself, come in very strong, and actually have seen people physically reel back like this. I've seen it. You may have seen it too if you've ever done SE. You come in and they do this, and then I've actually screwed the gig right there and then, Beautiful question. Jim, tell me I have more than 5 minutes. No. You can try to take me off stage, but I am bigger than you and you're old. I love you, and I will be done in 4 minutes. Okay. I love this question, okay? So the question was, are you trying to mirror and match identically? And the answer is sometimes, okay? And I know it's a sucky answer. That's why I wish I had more than 5 minutes, and maybe we could talk about this in the SE village, since we have a whole village, and I can go in more detail. But let me give you a quick answer for those of you that don't come down to hear this part. With D, the answer would be yes. You would want to match, because with a D, D's can take other D conversation. Very direct, very forceful. It's okay. You can challenge them. You can argue with them, and it's going to be fine, right? You would not want to match it if it was aggression and anger. In those scenarios, I'm a big proponent in SE. Never match negative emotion, okay? Unless it's sadness, you can match it to an extent. But if you match anger for anger, it only breeds more anger, and you never want that. It is impossible to build rapport. So you don't want to match the negative emotions, but you want to match things that are a communication style. Okay. With eyes, you want to match, but If you want to build rapport, you don't want to be the high I, right? Because I's are about this guy. So if you're an I and I'm an I and I'm trying to SE you, and I constantly am trying to one-up you, there's a battle. But if I let you one-up me, now there's rapport. Oxytocin, dopamine, right? All those things are flowing, and you won. It feels good. Now I'm your buddy. As an S, you want to communicate equally. S's love to be supportive with each other. But it's nice to let the other S be the big supporter, right? Let them be the one that comes in. And with C's, very much like D's. Talk to them in the way that they would talk to you. Detail, list, do that, right? So I know the answer is difficult, but it's for each one it's a little bit different, and you have to understand that. And the hardest part, since we have to be done in 20 more minutes. Okay, we have to be done in 2 more minutes. The hard part is making those changes in yourself, right? And then learning how to do that for yourself. Yeah, so email, man, okay, so I'm good. We're going to have to do this discussion at SE Village. Email, you have to be able to do online OSINT first, right? If you're going to match communication styles. If you're spear phishing. If you're general phishing, I don't tend to use communication profiling. I tend to use things that appeal to most people. Things like greed, curiosity, lust, those things that appeal to humans. I'll use those things in general phishing. But when it's spear phishing, we definitely look into their social media profiles, and then we try to use that to communicate with them in the way they want. Yes, sir. That's a great question. Does their communication style change depending on the topic or where you are? The answer is no. We tend to communicate the way we communicate no matter where we are. It sometimes shines through more depending on the scenario than in other scenarios, but we tend to not switch those communication profiles. Are you walking up the aisle for 2 minutes? Still have 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Let's make the most of it. Yes, ma'am. Oh. Okay, so this is good, right? The nice young lady baker was talking about seeing, when we talk with the C woman, if you make jokes and you try to make small talk, what is going on in her head? Yeah, shut up, right? Shut up, because she's probably thinking you're hitting on her. She doesn't want to be hit on. She wants to get the task done. You're at work. You're not at a bar, so she's not there to be hit on. And I's tend to be very chatty. Hey, so what are you doing today? Yeah, it's a nice blouse. Yeah, oh, good. Oh, look at you're really organized. Shut up and tell me what you want, right? That's it. I don't want to hear all this crap, okay? Nice. I love that. Yeah. You pick the dominant person out of the group and you communicate with them. Everyone else will follow the leader. You are walking very slowly up the aisle, sir. Is it time? 1 minute. Okay, do I have anything else? Let me just see. Okay, guys, there's my communication. You can get a hold of me and ask questions. We also are running the SE Village, so if you want to come down, we can actually hold a session later this afternoon and talk about this stuff if you want. We have a whole village all about SE, so we can do that. We're doing some polygraph stuff, but we could talk about this later on, okay? Thank you so much.